So after the first episode of The Last of Us, I think the majority take on it is that it was a solid entry and we can't wait for more. And as far as this episode goes, I think it will satisfy fans of The Last of Us because there are plenty of callbacks here. And with that in mind, it came as no surprise to find out that the director of this episode was Neil Druckmann, who created the game. And even in its style, where we have our characters go from one structure to the next, it did feel quite video gamey. Not that that's necessarily a negative or even a positive really, it's just something you notice. I mean, it's like that film Fences with Denzel Washington. You can see that was adapted from a play, even with how that was all filmed. And so with adaptation, it can be difficult to get away from that original construction. Like we had in the first episode, this one also starts with a flashback sequence, with this one taking place in Indonesia. This time around we have a character called Professor Ratner who gets seemingly arrested but instead gets taken to look at this corpse where the infection is starting to take over the body, and she gives the damning verdict that they should bomb the city, bomb everyone. And I must say I really am a fan of these flashback sequences. They do a great job in terms of world building, and if we get more of these throughout the rest of the season, I'll be so down for that as well, because it's a nice surprise to see this additional content for those who played the game. As expected, this episode jumped straight into a conversation between Ellie, Joel and Tess about her immunity, and with Bella Ramsey as Ellie, we got a lot more time with her in this episode, and I think what she has nailed is the mannerisms. I think we really got that across from her. I think what we have a bit different from the game though is that she's a bit more of a hardened character. Like, we've yet to see that sweet nature of Ellie come through, but it's not a concern because that will eventually happen as the show goes on and as she builds that connection with Joel, and we did get a glimpse of that in this episode actually when they're waiting for Tess. As we moved on throughout the episode, the production design and certain shots in particular looked incredible. Some didn't blend perfectly, but on a whole it's very good. And there were plenty of shots which paid homage to the game, and even some lines were directly pulled from the game as well.
Jury's still out. But man, can't deny that view.
You'll no doubt turn into the Leonardo DiCaprio meme as you see buildings like the hotel as well as the museum. And the museum was where my favourite scene of the episode occurred as we get introduced to the clickers. I got to give a shout out to the makeup department. They did an absolutely fantastic job getting these clickers onto our screens and looking so spot on. And this whole scene was full of tension and hugely entertaining, and it's great we have a variation of threats with The Last of Us. Like, we have our main infected crew, but we also have the clickers, we also have the stalkers, and this big boy here. During this sequence off screen, Tess gets bit, and I think with her bite it was quite well telegraphed. I think even if you are new to the series, you can probably tell that something's happened to Tess with the way she was acting. I think Anna Torv as an actor for Tess, she was fantastic by the way. I think she was a really good choice for this role. And she certainly goes out with a bang, as when we get to the meetup point, they find all the fireflies are dead and she shows the bite to Joel and Ellie. One of the infected needs to be put down, so Joel shoots them, but that gunshot alerts the infected outside, so Tess agrees that she'll sacrifice herself. And Pedro Pascal did a really good job of his face in the final scene with Tess and Joel. Something you can't really do a lot with The Mandalorian, but he did a great job of it here, where he really showed Joel's thought process and his decision to act on his priorities. As Tess is trying to blow up the place, one of the stalkers walks over to her and we have this pretty disgusting kiss scene.
That's a challenging wank.
I get that it's the fungus overpowering Tess and it's more of a connection than it is a kiss, with the mouth being like a portal in sort of thing, but with the way he tilted the head is what sort of baffled me, and also with the lighter cliche I didn't really like that either, so I'm a bit hit and miss with this one. It was certainly a more memorable death for Tess than it was in the video game, but it was pretty gross and not something you really want to see while you're eating your dinner. And just on the infection quick, they did clear up that the consumption of flour was how the virus got transmitted so quickly. We also have a hive mind here as well, which is something we've seen with lots of other TV shows and movies in the past, but I'm on board with it. I know it's not spores, but I'm on board to see what they do with this. Now with 2 episodes gone, I think those who haven't played the game might think it's your standard escaping zombie sort of story, but in the next 3 episodes of Joel and Ellie, I think it will hopefully become more clear why the game is so beloved. I thought this episode went very quick, but it is a slow moving story, and I think there is enough week by week to talk about, especially if you have played the game, but this show definitely has that binge watch potential. And so far my verdict for The Last of Us TV show is that it's coming from a place of familiarity where you're one step ahead, but with enough going for it where as a player of the game I'm excited for each new episode. They have made some notable changes, especially the one with Tess, but was that a good change? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. We are currently playing The Last of Us Part 2 on Twitch every Tuesday, so if you want to check that out, that link is in the description. But if you want to see our thoughts on another TV show, this one being Velma, that's on screen right now.